Emeka had watched 3 women leave this house before Ronk ever walked through its door. He didn't know yet that she was the one his family would never manage to chase away. If this is the kind of story that stays with you, subscribe now, because what happens in this house next, you will not see coming. The house sat on a quiet crescent in Ikoyi, the kind of street where generators hummed instead of roared, where gates opened only for people who belonged. Emeka had built half his career designing buildings for other people's families. He had never quite finished building one of his own. Bissy left on a Tuesday. She didn't shout. She packed slowly, the way people do when they've already made peace with the decision days before they say it out loud. "I tried, Emeka," she said, folding a scarf into a bag that had been sitting open on the bed for a week. 8 months. I tried to make a place for myself in this house. He stood in the doorway and said nothing, because there was nothing true he could say that wouldn't sound like an excuse. "Your sister has told me in a dozen soft ways that I'm not enough for you," Bissy went on. "Your brother asks about my finances like I'm applying for a loan. And today your youngest brother laughed while he broke your mother's vase, and you didn't even correct him. Because you never do. Because you're used to it." "You're right," Emeka said. "I have been used to it. That isn't an excuse, I know that." She looked at him for a long moment, not with anger, but with something closer to grief. "I don't hate you," she said. "I just can't keep waiting for you to choose peace over politeness." The door closed quietly behind her. It always did. None of them ever slammed it. They simply left the way water leaves a cracked cup, slowly, and then all at once. This was not new. This was, in fact, the 3rd time. 2 years earlier, there had been Melissa, sharp, ambitious, unwilling to be managed. Adiz had cornered her at a family gathering within 20 minutes of meeting her. "So, Melissa, tell me about your family. What do your people do?" It wasn't a question. It was an inspection dressed as small talk. By the end of that evening, Adiz had pulled Emeka aside, voice syrup-sweet, concern dressed as care. "I just worry about you. Is this really what you need right now?" Abana's method was different, but no less effective. He didn't interrogate, he priced. Any woman Emeka brought home eventually found herself fielding questions about her income, her assets, her intentions, phrased casually, delivered like an audit. "A man has to be careful who he lets close to that kind of money," he'd say, as if protecting his brother from something rather than protecting the family's grip on him. And Chuka, 24, restless, still finding his footing, didn't calculate anything. He simply didn't notice other people's feelings until they'd already been hurt. It was Chuka who, laughing at something on his phone, had knocked their late mother's vase off its shelf while Bissy stood 2 feet away. He hadn't looked at her when he apologized. He rarely looked at anyone when he apologized. 3 women, 3 different tactics, 1 outcome every time. Emeka sat alone in the living room that night, the space around him suddenly too large, too quiet. He thought about the pattern the way an architect thinks about a structural flaw, something load-bearing, something that couldn't simply be painted over. His phone buzzed. A message from an old friend, checking in, the way friends do when they sense something is wrong before you've said a word. He typed back, "It's Bissy. She left for good this time." The reply came fast. "Honestly, Emeka, she was right, too. I said the same thing about Melissa 2 years ago, and I'm saying it again now. Your family is the worst I've ever seen." He didn't argue. He couldn't. "I need help," he wrote. "Real help. Not an event planner. Someone who can stand in that house and not flinch." There was a pause before the reply came through, and when it did, it wasn't what he expected. "You don't need to cancel your life, Emeka. You need to hire Ronk." He stared at the name for a long moment, unsure whether he'd just found a solution, or made the situation infinitely more complicated. Funmi's cousin didn't do favors easily, and she certainly didn't do family drama for free. But there was something in the way Emeka had written *I need help*, not "I need a girlfriend*, not "I need a plan", that made Funmi pick up the phone instead of simply texting back a name. "Cousin, I have a job for you," she said, "and I think you're going to like this one." "I don't do the wedding gigs anymore," Ronk said flatly. "You know that." "It's not a wedding gig. This is about a man whose family is trying to control every part of his life. He needs someone to stand in the room and not back down. There was a pause on the line, long enough that Funmi could hear the shift in her cousin's attention. Controlling families, Ronk said finally. I know a little about that. She agreed to one condition. A meeting first, somewhere public, somewhere she could read this man properly before deciding whether his money was worth her time. The cafe Emeka chose was quiet, the kind of place with good light and better coffee, chosen so deliberately it almost gave away how nervous he was. You must be Emeka, Ronk said, sliding into the seat across from him before he could stand to greet her properly. Ronk, thank you for meeting me on short notice. So Funmi says you have a pest problem. One way to put it, he admitted. She ordered the most expensive pastry on the menu before he'd said another word, a small test disguised as an indulgence. He paid without comment. That, too, was information. Tell me everything, she said. Don't leave anything out. I need the full picture if I'm going to fix it. He told her. About Adi's interrogations, Abana's audits, Chuka's carelessness. About Melissa. About Bissy, 3 days gone. So your home is their clubhouse, Ronk said when he finished, and your life is their reality show, and you want me to be the wall. I want a force of nature, Emeka said. Someone they can't intimidate, can't manipulate, and can't ignore. So you want me to be myself, she said, the corner of her mouth lifting, but get paid for it. Interesting, what are the terms? They negotiated like colleagues closing a deal. Hazard pay, a bonus for emotional labor, a clause covering any watch that might mysteriously break during the engagement. A completion bonus if 2 out of 3 siblings backed off within a month. He agreed to all of it without blinking. Since we're going to be pretending to be in love for the foreseeable future, Ronk said, tell me something true about yourself, not the family stuff, something real. He thought about it, longer than the question seemed to require. I wanted to be a musician, he said finally. Played guitar badly for 6 years before my father convinced me architecture would actually pay the bills. A musician. She studied him like she was recalculating something. I can't picture it. Your turn, he said. Something true, not the art restoration line you gave Funmi's other clients. She was quiet for a moment, weighing how much of herself she was willing to hand over to a stranger she was being paid to deceive alongside. I actually do restore art, she said. That part's true. I taught myself from books after some things happened to my family. It became the thing that made sense when nothing else did. Later, walking rather than taking a car, she told him the rest. A fabric trading company her grandmother had built from nothing. An uncle who married outside the family's approval. A family council that voted his wife out of every decision and then voted him out entirely. By the time the dust settled, there had been no business left to fight over, only the wreckage of a room full of relatives deciding who was allowed to belong. So when Funmi told me about you, Ronk said, it wasn't just a job. I know exactly what a family council does to the person who doesn't fit the mold, and I know what it costs the people who love them. I'm sorry that happened to your family, Emeka said. Truly. That's why this matters to me, not just the money. I want to actually help you win this. Then let's make sure it doesn't happen to anyone else, he said, starting with my own house. She named the date, 11 o'clock Sunday, a crimson dress. Try to look surprised when I kiss you. He did not, in fact, look surprised. He looked like a man who had just realized the ground beneath the plan was shifting, and hadn't yet decided whether to be afraid of that or grateful. Adiz noticed the guest before she noticed the food. Everyone, this is Ronk, Emeka said. My girlfriend. The table went still in the particular way rooms go still. When a family realizes the script they'd prepared no longer applies. Adiz recovered first, gesturing toward a painting on the far wall. This is a beautiful piece, mid-period if I'm not mistaken, but it's hung incorrectly and is that dust on the frame. For something this valuable, it needs professional cleaning. I curated this room myself, Adiz added, an edge creeping into her voice. That painting has always hung there. It's a lovely instinct, Ronk said, unbothered. It just needs a professional eye to protect it properly. Art like this degrades faster than people realize. And where exactly did you study art restoration? Adiz pressed. I don't recognize your name from any circles I move in. Private practice, mostly for old families who prefer discretion over prestige, Ronk said. I imagine you understand the value of discretion. Adiz's smile thinned. How resourceful of you. Abena took his turn next, sliding into the seat beside her with the practiced casualness of a man circling a number. Asset management. Art, specifically? Interesting. What's your typical margin on a piece like that? It's not about quick flips, Ronk said evenly. It's about recognizing true worth and protecting it from degradation. The line landed harder than she'd intended, and for a moment nobody at the table was entirely sure whether she was still talking about paintings. Chuka arrived late to the interrogation, more curious than hostile. Is that a Patek Philippe on a NATO strap? He asked, eyeing the watch on Emeka's wrist. Oh, you poor thing. That's like putting bumper stickers on a Ferrari. The oils from that strap will corrode the case finish. Actually, you clearly have good taste, Ronk said. Most people your age wouldn't even recognize a piece like that. Who got you into watches? Our dad, Chuka said, quieter now. Before he passed, this was his. Then you should get it serviced properly, Ronk said, gently. Not mocked. Something that means that much deserves to be taken care of. Chuka looked at his brother for the first time all morning like he was actually seeing him. I didn't know that, Emeka. I'm sorry I never asked. Adiz, sensing the room slipping from her control, redirected. Well, Emeka, the family's been thinking of using your place for Christmas this year. We'll be in Aspen, Emeka said. Just the two of us, complete privacy. And Adiz, going forward, let's actually ask before assuming. This is still my home. The brunch ended in a silence that felt, for the first time in years, like something other than defeat. Later that night, Chuka texted, hesitant in a way that didn't suit him. Maybe I could come by sometime, just to talk, not for anything. I'd like that, Emeka wrote back, anytime. That wasn't the plan, he told Ronk afterward. No, she said. It was better than the plan. He actually let someone see him today. That matters more than winning an argument. You didn't have to do that for him. I know what it feels like to need someone to ask you a real question, she said. I couldn't do to him what was done to me. He didn't have a plan for what came after that, for the quiet that settled over the apartment, for the way neither of them reached for their coats. She stayed, not because the arrangement required it, because, for reasons neither of them said out loud, leaving felt like the wrong thing to do. A few nights later, she found him kneeling by a wobbling side table, the one that had held his mother's vase. I noticed it wobbled the day I broke it, Chuka admitted, arriving unannounced with tools in hand. I never said anything. Guilt, maybe. You're good with your hands, Emeka said. I didn't know that about you. I used to build things with Dad's tools before things got complicated, Chuka said. I think I started measuring myself against what you could give instead of what I could build. It's never too late, Emeka told him. You just fixed a table I didn't even know needed fixing. That's not nothing. It was a small repair. It would not be the last one this family needed. But somewhere in that quiet exchange, something had begun to shift. The first sign that the wall Ronk had been hired to build was, instead, starting to open a door. Adiz found her outside a shop on Victoria Island, and the encounter had the shape of a coincidence and the timing of an ambush. I've been thinking about you since the brunch, Adiz said. You handled my brother so skillfully. I just told the truth as I saw it, Ronk replied. I did some digging, Adiz went on. Your gallery, the one you supposedly work for, doesn't have a website, doesn't have a single record. I work privately. Discretion is the whole point of what I do. Discretion or a story, Adiz's voice sharpened. Because Funmi's cousin claim doesn't hold up either. You two don't share a single relative I can find. Cousin by choice, not by blood, Ronk said, without missing a beat. Her mother raised me for 2 years when my own family fell apart. Family isn't always about shared blood. I'd think you'd understand that complexity. Adi's smile was thin as paper. I suppose stranger things have happened. That night, Ronk called Emeka, her voice tight. That was too close. She's actively investigating us now. If she keeps digging, she's going to find something that actually breaks. They agreed on a story and little else. Private clients only. Give her nothing more and hoped it would hold. It didn't hold long. 3 days later, Bissy appeared at Emeka's door, pale, unsteady. Your sister called me, she said. Told me you hired a woman to make me jealous, that you're miserable, that you want me back. That's not what happened, Emeka said. My sister has been doing everything she can to break this up, and clearly she's not stopping at me. Emeka, please let me finish. Bissy's hands trembled. I need to tell you something. I'm pregnant, about 6 weeks. I found out last week. The room seemed to tilt. I'm not asking you for anything, she said quietly. I just thought you deserved to know. Later, alone with Ronk, Emeka repeated every word, every hesitation. When I asked her directly if Adiz had anything to do with this, she paused. Then she said Adiz had just helped her figure out how to tell me. That hesitation matters, Ronk said. People don't hesitate over the truth. They hesitate deciding how much of a lie to tell. There's something else, Emeka said. This stopped being just an arrangement for me, weeks ago. It stopped being an arrangement for me too, she admitted. Maybe from the cafe. Then we find the truth, he said. All the way to the bottom of it. If there's really a child, we face it together honestly. But I don't believe there is. Then let's prove it, Ronk said. Not the version that's easiest, the one that's actually true. She called Debo that night. I need everything on a pregnancy claim, 6 weeks along, confirmed at a private clinic. I need to know if it's real by tomorrow. The clinic, it turned out, was cash-only, discretion-focused, the kind of place people used less for medical care and more for arrangements. Debo dug further employment records first. Bissy had lost her logistics job 2 months earlier. The company had genuinely folded. She was behind on rent. That explains the why, Ronk said. Now I need the how. The break came from an unlikely place. A stranger's comment on an old social post 3 weeks before Bissy reappeared at the door. Stay strong. It'll work out. Ronk recognized the account instantly, Adiz's assistant, pictured in photos from the brunch. Confirmed, Debo told her the next day. Adiz's assistant transferred funds to that clinic 3 days before Bissy's appointment. It's all there in the records. Ronk sat with the information for a long moment before calling Emeka. I have everything, she told him. It's worse than we thought. That same night, Abena arrived unannounced, uncharacteristically quiet, carrying something on his phone he didn't quite know how to hand over. I found something about the pregnancy, he said. I think you need to see this tonight. 3 separate threads, Debo's financial trace, an old social post, and whatever Abena was holding, were about to converge in the same room at the same time, and none of them would leave that room unchanged. Adiz's assistant sent this to the wrong group chat, Abena said, sliding his phone across the table. It talks about the clinic arrangement, the payment confirmation. It matched, exactly, what Debo had already found independently. A transfer from Adiz's assistant to the clinic, 3 days before Bissy's appointment. She really did this, Emeka said quietly. My own sister really did this to me. I'm sorry, Abena told him. Not just for tonight, for years of treating every person you loved like a threat. They gathered the family the next evening, all of them, for the first time in longer than Emeka could remember, in the same room without an agenda hidden underneath the invitation. So, what's this about? Adiz asked, settling into her chair with the same composure she always wore like armor. Are we finally discussing the wedding, or has this woman gotten you into more trouble? No wedding, Emeka said. Sit down, all of you. I have something to show everyone. He laid it out, piece by piece. The social media post, timed 3 weeks before Bissy's return. The leaked message confirming the transaction. The clinic's own records and Debo's independent trail arriving at the same number. the same date. "This is you," Adiz said, her voice climbing. "You're twisting things. I only wanted what's best for this family." "You didn't just lie to me," Emeka said. "You tried to trap me into a lifetime of dependence on a fabrication, and you dragged Bissy and your own assistant into helping you do it." "I was protecting this family," Adiz said. "Everything I've done because I was terrified of losing all of you to outsiders." "No," Emeka said. "You did it for control, dressed up as love. There's a difference, and it's taken this whole family too long to see it." Bissy, standing near the door, spoke for the first time since arriving. "I was going to tell you, Emeka. I swear I was. I gave myself one more week. I just wasn't strong enough to do it sooner." "I believe you," Emeka said. "And I'm sorry for whatever made this seem like your only option, but you need to leave." He turned back to his sister. "You used me too, Adiz. I hope one day you understand what that cost me and what it nearly cost you." "The keys," he said. "All of them. Leave them here, not as punishment, because I need real boundaries if we're ever going to rebuild something honest." Abena, standing apart from the others, spoke before anyone asked him to. "I'm sorry, Emeka, but I'm grateful for the table, for the carpentry idea, for all of it. I don't want the old way back." "Not you," Emeka said. "Keep your key. You earned that back the hard way, and that matters more than the others ever did." It was then that Abena admitted the rest, the debt, the man he owed, the fear that had shaped his suspicion of every woman his brother had ever loved. "It's part of why I clung to this family so hard," he said. "I was scared of losing everything." "We'll deal with it together," Emeka told him. "With a real plan, not a bailout, starting today." Chuka, watching from the doorway, asked the only question that mattered to him. "Does this mean I still get invited to Christmas?" "Of course," Emeka said, and for the first time in years he meant it without reservation. "You and Abena both. This is still your family, just a healthier version of it going forward." A month later, the house on the quiet crescent looked, and felt, entirely different. "A whole month since I walked into that cafe and hired you to ruin my Sunday," Emeka said, watching Ronk move through the kitchen like she'd always belonged there. "Your sketchbook's been sitting on my coffee table for 2 weeks now," he added. "I don't think you've noticed you stopped taking it home." "I like that it's there," she admitted. "I like all of it, actually." The cultural center broke ground the following month, the one with the curved columns she'd designed over coffee, the fix to a roofline he'd been stuck on for weeks. On the day it opened, a year later, Emeka stood in front of a small crowd and did something he had never once done for any woman before her. "The curved columns in the atrium were her idea," he told them. "This building is better because of her." Later, watching the sunset from a balcony that finally felt like a home instead of a stage, Ronk turned to him. "So," she said, "what did you think of our story?" "I started this as a job," Emeka said. "I never expected to find a family worth fighting for, even the messy, complicated parts of it." He learned, in the months that followed, that peace isn't something other people hand you. It's something you choose and sometimes protect, even from the people you love most. Have you ever had to go to extreme lengths to protect your own peace? Tell us in the comments. We read every one. If this story of family, love, and finding real peace meant something to you, subscribe to Whispered Truths for more stories just like it. Because sometimes, the family you build matters just as much as the one you were born into.